and hopefully you'll get one soon. But we're here to talk about the marriage boot camp and what we can do to help you with your marriages, because that's our passion, that's our mission, that's our vision. We're a small nonprofit ministry to marriages, and I have some questions from some people who have reached out to me via Facebook. So I'm just going to go through some of them. And the number one question that I get all the time on social media is, can you fix my marriage? Can you fix my marriage? And what I want to say to you guys is we absolutely, positively can. And we have numbers and research to prove it. So just, we had 31 couples, 62 people come into the boot camp. And this was a few years back. And they came in, these 62 people came in on their absolute last leg. They were ready for divorce. They were done. This was their last ditch effort, marriage boot camp was. So they went through the program and they were so on fire with their relationships. They were so renewed in their love for each other because so much of life had gotten in the way that they just had forgotten their love story. So, okay, wait. Wants to be in your videos. Okay, so Marius, Joanna says she wants to be in my video. Do I have to do something to, oh, I approve. Ooh. Okay, so let me finish talking about the research that we did. A longitudinal study of these 31 couples. And the 31 came in on the verge of divorce. They left 100% renewed in their commitment. And we thought, wow, we do such an awesome job. We can cure people from divorce. But it wasn't enough for me to just say, yes, we do this, because the boot camp is such a intensive, throw you in the deep end of the pool kind of situation. So you're going to feel high. You're going to feel like that crazy flush when you leave the boot camp. So we follow these people for 2 years, and 85% of them clicked happily married on the survey that we sent out. So I'm telling you, we were very, very proud of that. We were very happy, very encouraged that we were actually getting it done in a way that is helping people. So from that, here we are today. We have a boot camp coming up on April 16th. Wait, let me check. April 14th. So 2 weeks from now, we have another boot camp coming up, and it's the 14th through the 17th. Marriage boot camp starts in the morning, and it's from 10 till 4. And then life enrichment starts at 6 to 11. And yes, marriage boot camp people have to go through both parts. I'll tell you why. Marriage boot camp, we are going to dissect and do a deep forensic dive into the systems that create your marriage, okay? So all of the little things, all the little habits, all of the little cycles that you guys get into in your relationship, we dig deep into, and we show you ways to correct and exit from unhealthy habits, okay? That's one. The nighttime portion of the program, where we mix singles, individuals, and some couples, we mix everybody in the evening programs from 6 to 11. And in the nighttime program, what we do is we work on the individual. We work on you. Because as Joanna had said in her little bitty live, it's just two broken people getting together and creating another broken system. So we work on the husband, the wife, the couple, and the marriage. So there's 3 parts to every relationship. There's you, there's them, there's us. So we work on all 3 parts of that. So yes, Amy, I see your note there. You guys do need to come back. I'll tell you why. The field of psychotherapy is always changing. It's always, and the reason it's always changing is because the science of the brain is being transformed like minute by minute. And so as that information updates, what we do updates. And so every time we come, we have a new boot camp, we've got something new and fresh. I'm dying to add a piece from Dr. Bruce Lipton, where he talks about how 95, or maybe it's 75, I can't remember the numbers, but a huge portion of what we do in life is programmed between the years of 0 to 7 years. 0 to 7 years, we're programmed. Okay, so your DOS download or your OS whatever version, Catalina or whatever, is downloaded. And at 7, it stops. At 7, we develop in our brains a conscious mind. Our conscious mind is where our aspirations, our wishes, our dreams, our hopes, our everything in a small part of our brains. And that piece then falls into the programmed part of our brains. And if they don't match, it is a wrestling match. A good example of that is if you learned from 0 to 7 years old to clean your plate, and now you're 40, 50 years old, and you shouldn't be cleaning your plate because you got to lose a little weight, right? That program is still running, saying, clean it, clean it, clean it. I know a lot of you can relate to that because you do it. You're like, why did I eat all of that? And it's because you're programmed to. It's part of your survival mechanism. So there are ways to get into the programmed parts of your brain and make some changes. And that's what we do at the boot camp. We use guided visualization. We use games and exercises and drills. And we almost, gosh, I don't know if I say this right, but we almost kind of have to trick you into getting into those programs and going, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that I am sometimes my own worst enemy on this. So that's one. So can I fix your marriage? I can fix your marriage. I have the statistics to show that I can fix your marriage. Okay. Why should singles attend a marriage seminar? I think I answered that. Daytime is for couples and relationship systems. Nighttime is for individual work, working on you, focusing on you. And you need both to have a happy, healthy relationship, okay? Will the work I do at the boot camp last? Okay. Now, I am a traditional couples counselor. I was trained in traditional psychotherapy. And I can tell you that individual work takes a long time. I have been in individual psychotherapy for over 30 years. Number one, because I'm a little wacky. Number two, because I really love it. I love learning. I love seeing what's out there. I love my therapist. And it's just a place where I get to go and talk about myself the whole time. Who doesn't love that, right? But yeah, it takes a long time. It has taken me decades to break some bad habits. With the boot camp, we throw you deep in the deep part of the pool into an intensive like you've never had before. It is going to rattle up some of those files. And the 4 days you come to the boot camp, it's like the equivalent of 2 years of individual psychotherapy. Now, wouldn't you rather do in 4 days rather than 2 years and spending all that money? I'm telling you, I can tell you this. I've been with the boot camp now 14 years. When Jim and I met, the boot camp, the Life Enrichment Nighttime program, he wanted me to go through one. He's very excited about it. But what I didn't realize was that it was actually a test date. I don't know if any of you have either been on a test date or taken someone on a test date to see how they're going to handle things, right? So this was Jim's test date of me to see how I would handle the boot camp. Anyway, I was cynical coming from the traditional field. I'm like, yeah, 4-day seminar, really? I'm like a therapist. Well, I had my mind blown by what I saw there, the miraculous healing that I saw there, and the changes that it did to me. And I was like, I'm in, I'm all in. And then I became a part of the boot camp team. I'm now the executive director of the boot camp and CEO, and Jim will tell you that I slept my way to the top. His private joke, whatever. Okay. Now, here's a question I get a lot. How do I get my spouse to come? Yeah, that's a biggie, because I'm just going to, I don't want to be like sexist or gender whatever, but observation and research shows that women will sit through a lecture or a speaker's tour or something like that more readily than men will. Men are just too antsy to sit for 40 minutes and do kind of anything, really. So that's what I've observed, and that's what the research says. So I'm guessing that whoever sent me this is a woman, and it should say, how do I get him to come? So Jim, back in the day, 30 years ago, built the boot camp modality really for men. Why? Because he wouldn't sit through 40 minutes of anything. So, I mean, it's like if it's not moving quickly, he doesn't want to be a part of it. So he built it for men. They're really, in terms of the teaching, our teaching moments are probably no longer than 5 minutes. Then it's application. So we'll give you, we'll set up the drill of the exercise or the learning. 5 minutes is all. And then we'll say, all right, get with your mate and let's practice. And our practices have lots of different looks about them. So for example, one of the first games that we play is tug of war. So everybody gets in tug of war. We got the music going, and everybody's like trying to win, and they're just going for it. And then we stop, and then we have a little bit of a well, what happened there? How many of you were competitive and would have done anything to win? Okay. How many of you cheated? Okay. How many of you just gave up? These games will reveal more about you than 2 years of couples work. So within a matter of 5 minutes, we've been able to show you, not tell you, but show you in real activities, your nature, your character, and then you get to choose. Do I want to stay this way? Do I want to be competitive? Do I want to be someone who just gives up and drops the rope? Is that me? Is that working for me? You know, Dr. Phil always says, how's that working for you? Yeah. So those are the moments in the boot camp where the magic starts to happen, and the programs, the files in your unconscious mind start to fly open, and you're able to go, ooh, I can make some choices here. The field of neuroscience calls it reconceptualizing memory, where you actually make changes in things that you developed a neural pathway on as a child, and you can now reconceptualize it. So we do it with tug of war. Other people do it with hypnosis, or lots of different ways. We do it the fun way. That's why we always get men coming in saying, I never wanted to be here, but man, I'm so glad I came. So men, if you're listening, or if your man is the one who is saying, I don't want to go to some lame-o teaching thing, tell him it's just all games and fun. Yeah. And he can compete with Jim. He can do push-ups and see if he can beat Jim. Anyway, all right. Can you fix my spouse? All right. The short answer, again, a confident yes. But listen to me. We fix everybody. Virtually everybody leaves the boot camp with a renewed sense of self and a vision for their best self. And that's the point. Like Joanna was saying, is that she went there to like hoping that we would pound on her mate and make him a better whatever. And what happened was Joanna had discoveries about herself, where places where she worked. And let me just tell you this. If you're focusing on your mate being a jerk or needing to clean up his act, or she's a crazy drama queen and she can't blah, blah, blah. If you're focusing over there, you're giving away your power. All of your power rests in your own ability to make changes in your own life and your own self. And when you change, your systems change. I will tell you that when you disrupt a dysfunctional system, it will try to yank you back into it. I see families like this, where they don't want the one person to grow. They want everybody to stay codependent, or they want everybody to like hate on a certain group of people, or it's very dysfunctional systems. And then the healthy person goes back into the family, and all of a sudden the healthy person is the one who's the outcast. I see that all the time. We give you the tools to communicate your love, your hope, your vision, that will hopefully bring the whole clan up. And imagine what this does for your children. If you can teach your children, you're not a victim, you're not a snowflake, you have power. But if you keep focusing on that other person is being a jerk, you're giving away your power. So yes, we fix spouses, but we also fix you. Okay. Okay, next question is this a Christian seminar? So let me just say this. I am a Christian. Jim is a Christian. We do this for God's glory, for sure. But I've also been to Christian workshops and was told some things that just didn't resonate with my heart and didn't resonate with my psychology. You know, women are to be whatever and men are to be whatever. And I didn't find that to be real helpful. So while we are Christians and we take every game and drill and we vet it through the grid of honoring God, we do not preach, we do not push, and we don't pound you over the head with a Bible. But you know, the Bible basically boils down to this: love God, love others. That's what we teach you to do. Love your mate, love yourself, and love God if that's your choice. But we do not preach, we do not push, and we don't let anybody else do that either. Okay. So, and this person says, is there a separate boot camp for Christians only? The answer is no. We have a mixed audience, a mixed group of people, and we want to keep it that way. We want the boot camp to be for Christians, for Muslims, for every race, every creed, every age. And it's one of the comments that we got last boot camp was like, wow, I have never seen so much diversity in one room. I've never seen 100 people together that were so different. We have same-sex couples. It's a very safe place for whoever wants to get the skills, the tools, and the heart to do life better and to do relationships better. So, but I hope I answered that question. We are Christians. Okay, here's a tough question. This person writes, we have bedroom issues because I have childhood trauma. Yeah, this is a tough one. Let me first say that if you have childhood trauma, if you have abuse in your past, you're not alone. About 75% of the people who come to the boot camp have some kind of childhood wounding that keeps showing up in their life and tripping them up and keeping them from being their very best self. So what we find is that the solution to relationship issues and the solution to your life not going exactly the way you want it to go is to heal the early wounding. We have tons of work that we do on early wounding so that you can be free, you can be released to be your best self. And look, if childhood trauma is showing up in the bedroom, healing will show up in your bedroom. Oh, in our sex ed session, I'm just going to brag, is probably the hottest one out there. I've been to lots of seminars, and nobody does a better job of giving you the science, having it be fun, and then showing you how to have great sex in 5 minutes every time. All right, enough said. Okay, this person says we have a good marriage. Should we come? Can I tell you that we have couples who come back to the marriage boot camp on their anniversary every single year. Number one, the curriculum changes constantly with the field. Number two, the mix of people seems almost providential. We have people who say, I learned more from this person's story than I did from all the teaching you guys did up front. And I'm like, that's it, that's it. We are pack animals. We learn from each other. We grow by watching other people grow. And so, yes, if you have a good marriage, make it great, make it fresh. Let me talk about a little bit about some research that I recently read about falling in love. What are the components of falling in love? Okay, and they boil it down to two things. Falling in love is about novelty and about chemistry. Okay, chemistry is a complicated thing because chemistry is sometimes a mixture of that early programming I talked about, and it can, in the chemistry part of the equation, can be some unfinished business from childhood, something that you want to fix. So for example, you see children who grew up in alcoholic homes marrying alcoholics. So there's chemistry, that's a complicated one, but chemistry doesn't change. Novelty changes quickly. This flush of, oh my God, do you see that guy? Or, oh my goodness, that girl is like it. that changes rather rapidly. The novelty does. And so in order to maintain a sense of falling in love, is you got to constantly be on your novelty game. Okay. Boot camp is a novel experience. African safari is a novel experience. These things will absolutely bring the flush of in-loveness back to your relationship, but you got to keep up on it. You got to maintain your relationship like you do car maintenance. So boot camp is one of those things. I have had people say, we fell back in love at the boot camp. And I'm like, yeah, you did, because your brain got a taste of the novelty and saw this person in a fresh light, and it changed them. It changed them. And it sparked the glue and helped them to start growing back together, using their tools, taking the chemistry, adding the novelty, and now they got a fresh start. It really is part of what makes marriage sustainable. Because I'm telling you, marriage is hard, yo. I have a blog out there on the website, and it's called Marriage is Hard. I wanted to call it My Marriage Sucks Right Now, but Jim was like, you can't put that out there on our website, because it was really a hard season for us. But it will tell you the seasons of relationships. It'll talk to you a little bit about the unfinished business, and you'll also get a glimpse of where Jim and I were at that time and what we did to get out of the rut. All right. Now those are the questions that I got off of the Facebook Live of Joanna's. I'm just reading. I don't see any questions. If somebody has a question, just hit me up, because I'll answer questions. And if not, I wonder if we saved this. I'm not sure. So if anyone has a question, I'd be happy to answer it. Where is the boot camp? Okay, the boot camp is here in Frisco, Texas, at the brand new Hyatt Regency in Frisco. It's the new hotel that they built, and it's attached to the big old Stonebriar Mall. So you can walk out of the hotel, go into the mall, do a little shopping, come back to boot camp, and it's all good. So it's at the Hyatt Regency, Frisco. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So I have a question here about COVID. All right. Here's the position we have on COVID. Okay. We follow all the guidelines of the shoot, I just lost the name of the organization that manages all that, the World Health Organization, whatever. Okay, so you're required to wear masks in public areas. So that would be in the mall, in the lobby of the hotel, but within the ballroom where we do the work, masks are not required. At every break, we do a complete scrub of the place so that the room is always clean, but you're not required to wear a mask. But if you want to wear a mask, you are absolutely welcome, and there's not going to be any problems with you taking care of you. And we really want to stress the empowerment part of boot camp. You take care of you, okay? Brandy is asking, can you bring the boot camp to South Texas? No, y'all South Texans, come up here. Join us up here, okay? We're staying here. Now, let me just say a little bit about that. We used to have satellites in Atlanta and Houston and in Los Angeles. And they were very, very hard to sustain financially. In fact, we were always having to add money to us doing it, because we couldn't sustain ourselves. It's like a church plant or whatever. Eventually, you got to sustain yourself financially in order to be, a viable boot camp. But we couldn't do it. So we had to close down all of our satellites and just focus in on Dallas. And it's worked really well for us, and the people are getting healing. At one of our boot camps, we had 17 states plus countries represented, 17 different states. Well, it was the combination. So we had people from Australia. Hillsong sends a lot of their people to the boot camp. We had Germany, and then we had, 17 and 15 different states. So Yeah, we're not coming to South Texas. Y'all come to us. Let me say a little bit about going to other places. All of our grads get together once a year and we do a marriage boot camp retreat. This year we are going to Cancun. We're going to the Excellence Playa Mujeres Resort in Cancun. And it's in August, but you have to be a boot camp grad to join us. And it's what we do is we get together in the morning over coffee and whatnot, and we just do some drill and kill kinds of fun exercises to just refresh that learning. And Jim, of course, brings the fun, and he'll make you do a worm race across the ballroom, or I don't know. He does that. I do the teaching. Okay, but come to Cancun with us after graduation, and it's just a place to, in a way, to maintain community, because community is the only way to do life. We are not ever meant to do life alone. And I'm an introvert, so I like my alone time, but man, I need my community. I need my circle of sisters, and Jim needs his band of brothers, and we need our couples time. We need our families, because we just, as human animals, we cannot do this alone. Okay. Who else has a question here? Okay. So the question is about the quarantine and the COVID situation, and how do couples come back together after they've so I work with a brilliant neuroscientist, and she treats people for PTSD. Okay. What she was saying was that when there are psychosocial stressors, she will stop treatment, because you cannot do this work plus manage the other stuff. Let me just say that COVID and quarantine and the economic impact were psychosocial stressors. So if y'all were trying to work on your relationships during that time, you're going to be overwhelmed. Your brain is already trying to survive a virus, and it doesn't have a whole lot of bandwidth for everything else. So if you guys have been fighting, just know that it's normal that when there are psychosocial stressors, it is very, very hard to problem solve. You have enough on your plate just surviving the quarantine and the economics and all of that kind of stuff. So to answer your question, the marriage boot camp will help you by giving you tools, experiences, and a reuniting an experience with other people. So you'll get to see other people growing and changing and whatnot. And so if the quarantine has left you wounded, if your marriages seem like they're just a mess, know this: it's normal. It's normal for marriages and families to be under stress when there are psychosocial stressors added to the already stressful situation of trying to be a happy, healthy family. Yeah, you're not alone. Bootcamp will help you. Okay, so Brandy commented that she honestly feels like she gained a new family at the boot camp. Can I tell you, we have couples, so it's been close to 30 years that the boot camp has been helping people, individuals and marriages. And we have people from 20 years ago who still take cruises together, go on vacation together, get together. The boot camp retreat was sort of just taken from these people who say, hey, we get together every year. Why don't y'all do it? We're like, okay, well, let's make this a real thing. So yes, you will meet people at the boot camp that you will feel like are your BFFs for life, and you'll never forget them, and they'll never forget you, and you change lives. Do you know what it feels like to be a person who says, this is what happened to me in my life, and it changes somebody else, that you get to be a part of the healing of another person? Oh my gosh, it's awesome. So that's why families, friendships, communities are built at the boot camp, and that's why I love it. Okay, how do I repair from infidelity? Let me just say this, that's a hard one on a relationship. but it is not a death sentence. It is absolutely not a death sentence. About 30% of the couples that come in every boot camp are dealing with some form of infidelity. Infidelity is the symptom of something else going on. Either communication has broken down, or a person's self-esteem is going to the wrong place to get a boost, or there's just a lot of reasons why people fall into the trap of infidelity. Okay, we will give you the tools to help you heal, but know this: if that is a part of your story and that's a part of your relationship, it takes a long time. Research shows that it takes about, on average, 18 months from the reveal to the heal. 18 months from reveal to heal. So if you've offended your marriage in this way, and you're telling your mate, can't you just put the past in the past? Can't you just get over this? I said I was sorry. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Just be patient. It takes a while. We will give you the tools to do that work so that when you leave the boot camp, you will have the ability to continue that journey of love and compassion and repentance for what happened in this relationship. Okay, what are some of the things that are, well, as I mentioned, some of the things that create infidelity are a disconnection in the relationship. Disconnection can happen a bunch of different ways. Disconnection, okay, so disconnection is the root cause. Disconnection then turns into criticism. Disconnection then turns into neglect. There's a whole lot of things that come from the root, the dark root of disconnection. So we start with the disconnection, and then we start to dig out the roots, pluck out the weeds, and say, now let's find ways to connect. Now we're left with, how do we heal the wounds? Okay, so we give you tools for healing that may seem simple. So the simple tool, one of the simple tools is called MVP, Most Valuable Player. You guys are probably familiar with MVP. What MVP stands for at the boot camp is mirror, validate, and hope. When you mirror somebody else's pain, it is very healing. If you have hurt your mate and they come at you with their ugly on, and they say, how could you do that to me? Why did you do it? And they get into their pain, and you're able to say, okay, I hear your pain. What you're saying is, why did I do this to you? What I'm hearing you say is that you're hurting and I caused that hurt. Did I get that right? If you can mirror like that, and you can take the air out of that pain, then you can start to have a conversation. You can de-escalate what's going on for the couple, or for your mate who's got their crazy on in hurt. Okay, so that's mirroring. What I heard you say is, okay, then you mirror. When you mirror, you have no opinions. You don't give your opinions. You don't try to correct them. You don't try to say, well, it didn't happen that way, or you don't try to talk them out of that. You just say, what I heard you say is that you're hurting because of what I did. And then you ask the question, did I get that right? That will calm a wounded soul enough to be able to have a conversation. So that's the M. The V is for validate. Validate means that you value what is being said. You're not saying, that's dumb, that's stupid, you're crazy. You're valuing what they say, even if you don't agree. So I'll give you an example of that. Your mate says, it terrifies me when you drive like that. Okay, now I could see the husband going, I don't drive that bad and you drive just as bad as I do, and then that fight is on. Validation would say, what I'm hearing you say is that it terrifies you when I drive like this, and it makes sense to me. There's the validation. It makes sense that you get scared. I don't get scared, but it makes sense that you get scared. I get that, and I can respect that you're scared. I'm going to try to do better. I'm going to try to do better on my driving thing. And that will stop the fight immediately. So what I heard you say is that my driving is terrifying you. It makes sense because I know you. I know your heart. It makes sense to me that that would scare you. Okay? Now here's the hope. Even though you disagree, you can bring the hope, and that's the P. So we had to stretch a little bit to get P for MVP. The hope is, you'll say something like, my hope is that I don't scare you anymore. My hope is that my driving can change and be different for you and more comfortable for you. So, so you're giving a mirror, I heard you, a validation, you're not crazy, it makes sense, I understand that, and the hope. My hope is that I can do better, or we can do better, or your fear thing will heal. You know, that's my hope. Okay. So, any other questions out there? Yes. Okay. Yes, I do have another tool. So MVP is probably one of the foundational tools that we use at the boot camp. Mirror, validate, and hope. And we use a technique called drill and kill, so that when you walk out the door, you're going to know how to MVP. And the only reason you're not MVPing is because you're not practicing your MVP. You're not getting your MVP on. Every time I talk to people and they're like, well, we kind of got into it again. I'm like, are you using your tools? And they'll go, oh, well, I'm not really good at blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, if you're not good at mirroring your mate, if you're not good at validating your mate, if you're not good at giving them hope, yeah, your marriage is going to suffer. So we drill and kill so that you will have plenty of time to practice this new tool, okay? So let's see, okay. What we're going to do with this video is we will, once we get finished here live, we'll take it, we'll edit it, and then you'll be able to search using keywords to find what questions that you have. Can I talk more about sex? Yeah, I can talk more about sex. Okay. The sex education part of the marriage boot camp, like I said, it's science-based. It's the latest research, and we make it fun. We make it sexy. We bring Marvin Gaye in the room. Okay. Here's the thing about sex. Sex is all about two variables: accelerators and brakes. Okay, like on your car, accelerators and brakes. It's a little bit like turn-ons and turn-offs, but it's really not, because what couples, the mistake that a lot of couples make is that they try to add more accelerators to the bedroom to make things hotter, when maybe what they need to do is pull off the brakes. I can tell you that criticism will generally throw your brakes on. You could be like all romantic and hot and heavy, and then they say something like, you know, you kind of smell funny. Oh, that's going to throw the brakes on. That's going to throw the brakes on. So we do a deep dive into what are your accelerators and what are your brakes, and know that if you throw the brakes on, this accelerator is going to go away. Make sense? Okay, so that's one aspect of sexuality that we cover. And we have you guys. We put you into a group, or actually we put you with your mate, and we have you guys talk about that. I mean, if you guys aren't talking about your sexuality in your marriage, then you're missing a big chunk of keeping your marriage novel, bringing back the I'm in love feeling to your relationship. You've got to do that. You got to have this conversation. And let me tell you, as a 65-year-old postmenopausal woman, sex changes with age. I mean, if you're not getting a new boyfriend every 5 years inside your marriage, or a new girlfriend in your marriage, then you're not tracking, because we are changing. We are changing a lot. And if we're paying attention, we'll be like, dang, I got some strange in the house, right? Not because you're going outside of your marriage, but because you're discovering fresh new things in your marriage. So we have you talk about that. So let me just give you a quick statistic that came out of Dr. David Schnark's studies. He actually is in the gerontology field, But as a part of his research, he found that when he was going into retirement homes of age, seniors, that he was seeing a lot of hot sex. And he's like, what on earth is going on here? Bottom line of his research is that the peak age for men and sexuality, the age where they experience the greatest pleasure from sex is 64. For women, it's 66. And as a 65-year-old woman, I can tell you that sex is better than when I was a hot 20-year-old, for real. Okay, Jim should not be watching this live. Okay, so my husband is wanting to know if sex will be guaranteed after marriage boot camp. Okay, the answer, Jim, is no guarantee of sex after boot camp. But I can tell you this, I've had more people say we had more sex at the boot camp than we have in our whole marriage. We were just so like after each other. It's the novelty, it's the energy, it's the charge. And no, you can't have sex with Jim is not available for that. So yeah, the answer is no to that. Okay, all right, so I'm going to wrap this up unless somebody has a question out there. It looks like the questions are kind of fading off, but yeah, boot camp is coming up in 2 weeks. If you guys want to join us and have a life-changing experience, we would love to have you. And we'll put this video out on the out on Facebook, so y'all can use your keywords and find whatever you're looking for. Also, I guess I didn't think about this. Let's see. Shameless plug. Marriage Boot Camp takes on the top 10 marriage killers. So you can get my book on Amazon. They actually have a audible version of this, and some old lady read my book. I'm like, what? Anyway, Marriage Boot Camp is available on Amazon and most of the other bookstores. Let me talk to you about this. It is 10 chapters topically organized. By that I mean, like, the first chapter is on communication. So I give you an education on communication, a short one. I talk about a couple who's come through the boot camp and their story. And then I go through and give you a DIY. If you have problems with communication, just follow along in the do-it-yourself at the end of each chapter. Okay, there's a chapter on communication, chapter on sex, a chapter on parenting, chores. You know that chores is the number 4 reason for divorce? Is that bizarre? It's not really that bizarre. As I dug into the research on why is chores number 4, it's because chores manage to grab the power struggle. Whether the power struggle is it's not fair that he does this and she does that, or if you have like strict gender roles. I mean, there's all kinds of power struggle that show up in chores. Okay, I also go through personality differences. A lot of people fight over things that will never change. If you are an introvert and he is an extrovert, you're never going to agree on how much time to spend with people. You can only make room for each other. Okay, there's a chapter on parenting and creating a parenting plan for each of your children, and it will be different because the personality differences of your children are going to show up, and you're going to have to make room for that. We have one on cheating, a chapter on fighting, how to fight the good fight. Wrestling with the past is chapter 9. How many of you have baggage and damage from childhood that still sort of creeps up on you? And in fact, this morning I had this really weird thought. I journal and I do my work. But anyway, I was thinking about the high school of life. The high school of life never leaves us. And I just noticed one of my high school boyfriends just showed up on my feed. So Brian, I see you. But yeah, high school imprints on us like a lasting identity, whether you were popular or whether you were the nerd or whether you were on the fringe. Like for me, I was always sort of on the fringe of the high school of life, and my sister and my older brother were like the popular kids. And I have not gotten over that. I was journaling this morning, realizing that being an outsider still drives some of my thoughts, feelings, and choices, which I'm too old for that, yo. Anyway, I got work to do too. Okay, and the final chapter is the need for forgiveness. Look, if you're somebody who holds grudges or who can't let go of an offense or an insult, that is eating you alive. That's like drinking poison, hoping the other person dies. We walk you through how to get rid of that, how to let go of that person who harmed you, or how to forgive inside of a relationship, a person you want to stay in a relationship with. Forgiveness is complex. There's one way of forgiving for someone who is no longer a part of your life. And there's another way of forgiving that is for someone you want to stay in relationship with. And we teach both, because you got to have both of those tools in your tool belt. All right. So I'm racing off to lunch, y'all. So thank you for everything that, this opportunity to come into your home and to come onto your Facebook page and talk to you. Again, Joanna and I will try to get this out to as many people as we can, and we'll figure out why Joanna Hunt is being blocked on Facebook for being a naughty person. All right. Thank you guys. Love to see you at boot camp. Come visit us. Bye.